Hi guys, my name's Alana. Welcome back to Mental Health with Alana. This week's video is going to be talking about how to help someone in your life if they are suicidal or experiencing suicidal thoughts. If you're new to my channel, I'm Alana. I post mental health videos every week on a Friday. If you're interested, press that red subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and always recommend any video ideas or subjects you want me to discuss. So this week's video is how to help someone who is suicidal. This can be a very challenging situation for other people if they have not experienced, a family member or a friend or somebody who is experiencing high levels of distress and maybe suicidal thoughts or suicide intent. My first tip is to always ask the person straight out if they have a plan or if they have intent to carry through with it, or if they're just having thoughts or just feeling like they kind of don't really want to be around. This is really important because then you can kind of decide where to go from next. So if the person says they are just experiencing thoughts and maybe are just, experiencing just the feelings of not really want to be here, just having a really hard time with their mental health or a particular situation, I think creating a safety plan would be a really good idea. You can find templates for this on the internet, and I think the Black Dog Institute has a template. I will try to link one down below. This is really simple. It's basically just a couple of questions that you just fill out with the person, or the person can do it on their own, but I always think it's a good idea to have someone else there to help them. And you just write down some protective factors, what is important to them. So why would they want to stay around? Maybe it's their pets, maybe it's a family member, maybe there is something that they really value in their life that would be like a preventative factor for them. And then it has like a few other questions like who would I call, who are my support system. So just doing all that with them can be a good idea, especially for future, just so they have that there. Another tip is to, ask the person what they need. So saying to the person, how can I support you? Would you like me to sit here with you and, distract you, or do you want to watch like silly, like funny cat videos, or do you want me to tell you how my day was, or do you want to watch a movie, or do you want to actually talk about how you're feeling? So providing the person with options is important because you want that person to be able to feel like they have some choice and control in the situation, so then they can kind of tell you what they need, and then you're coming to them showing empathy and asking them, what do you want and what do you need? And if the person doesn't know, then you can just decide on something. And I always think distraction is the best thing. So, like I said, watching a movie, or just even maybe ordering in some food or something. Maybe the person hasn't eaten anything or drunk any water, maybe they've been super depressed, so their house is a mess. Maybe you can clean up, put some music on, or just something like that, like really practical ways to help people. It's always probably the best route to go, at least for me. I really like when people do practical things for me, especially because when people often have suicidal thoughts, they're probably experiencing depression, and that can make it really hard to do things like self-care, and even their house, can be falling apart and be a mess, and all of that just adds to the way that you're feeling. If the person does express intent and a plan and they're wanting to go through with it, then obviously I recommend a few options, either asking them, do you want me to come with you to emergency at the hospital? The other option you have is to ring either yourself or encourage the person and sit with them and ring like a crisis line. So, something like a lifeline would be ideal, and talking to them, explaining either you, if they don't want to do that and they just want you to ring, I mean, you can ring and explain what's going on and ask, what should we do? Should we go to emergency? Or you can, encourage the person to talk to the counselor on the phone, and then get, resources and like information from them, and then decide what to do. I do not really recommend just straight away, like, ringing, an ambulance on somebody, or ringing, like, like, just saying, "No, we're going to the hospital," and not giving them a choice. Like, I really believe that this process is sensitive, and, when somebody's really struggling, and especially if they're very mentally unwell, that can really feel like a betrayal of trust. And of course, if it's like a severe crisis situation, um, then you do need to ring emergency services, and get that person safe. Like, I understand that, but you have to address what level it's at. Because often once that person talks to the a counselor on the phone, maybe that person actually feels a lot better afterwards just by talking to a counselor or someone who's trained in dealing with suicide and stuff like that. So I do not always recommend going that, full on route, because that can sometimes traumatize the person and really give that person a sense of that they don't have any control. And so, yeah, like for me, a big fear of mine was constantly that if I told someone I had a plan, or if I told somebody how I was feeling, I was always really scared that they were going to force me to go to hospital. And, I did go to emergency one time, and I had a little bit of a negative experience. And it wasn't helpful. Like, I didn't end up inpatient, but the whole process is can be traumatizing, and can be quite intense and horrible, and having to wait hours and hours, unfortunately, for emergency even care within the hospital is not fun. So, coming from a person who has been on this side of things, that's why I'm saying, try to do all these other things first, unless it is obviously complete emergency. Like, that person is not going to be convinced otherwise. They're like totally set on doing this, you know. Another good thing is to ask them if if this person is very serious, like, ask them what they were going to do and all that. Find out the information, and then, put those things in places where they don't know where it is. Or, say it's like medication. I'm not trying to be triggering, but say it's a medication thing, then maybe go lock up the medication, or put the medication somewhere where they don't have access to it, things like that. And obviously the last thing, which is just pretty self-explanatory, but make sure through the whole process you're showing empathy, and you're showing, even if you don't actually understand maybe what they're experiencing completely, you still can show empathy, and you can still be caring and kind to that person. Like, you don't have to have been in that situation to support somebody. And it's okay if you don't know what to do. That's why I always recommend, like, if you don't know what to do, you can call Lifeline and ask for their advice. You can call the local mental health service. Like, I know where I live, we have the acute care team, which is like the crisis team. You can ring them and talk to them and say, this is what's happened, or this is what is going on, my friend's in distress, my family member, what should I do? Then they would give you directions and tell you. So if you don't even know, it's okay. Like that, not everyone is expected to know how to cope with this, and it can be hard for you as well. So make sure that you're doing self-care. If you're the person who's dealing with this, make sure later on, or whenever you do have time, that you take time away for yourself, and that you do look after yourself, and you do, talk to someone else about it. Or, if you need to, just go away for a few days and just have some time for yourself. Like, make sure you do that, because you want to make sure that you're keeping yourself well. Because if you're not well yourself, you can't help anyone else. So those are my tips. I hope they helped you. I hope I covered everything. That's just what I would give advice to, from me being a person who's been in the situation of feeling, suicidal, or having, things go wrong. Or, also I've been in the other side of it, where I've had friends who have either attempted and I've had to deal with it, or like immediately kind of deal with it, or, just had friends texting me, or just all sorts of situations, So, it's like anything. You learn what to do, what not to say, what to say. There's never a right or wrong thing, really. But yeah, so I hope you found this helpful, and leave any other suggestions down below as well. So thank you for watching my video, and I'll see you in next week's.